So they're starting a new search for MH370, the missing plane. What we do know is there's 239 people that were on board. No distress call, no mayday, and more than a decade later, no clear answers. Despite the largest aviation search in history, MH370 remains one of the greatest mysteries of modern times. They are starting a new search. Let's get into this.
More than a decade after Malaysia Airlines Flight MH370 vanished from radar shortly after taking off from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia's Transport Ministry has now announced that a private marine robotics firm will resume a deep-sea search for the Boeing 777 tomorrow morning. CNN's Tom Foreman is joining us. He's here with me in the Situation Room. So what's this new search about, Tom? How is it different from all the previous searches?
In some ways, it's the same. Ocean Infinity is the company behind it. They did this back in 2018 with no results. We don't have details on why exactly they've narrowed it into this one area, which is about the size of Connecticut, a little bit bigger. So,
Can you imagine searching an area the size of Connecticut with drones underwater? I mean, just imagine if you had, I don't know, 20 people flying drones walking through the state of Connecticut, how long it would take you to search the whole state of Connecticut. And you're seeing a lot broader scheme than what you can see underwater. Now, I know they have radar and they're able to detect differences in the sea bottom, but still, what a daunting task.
so pretty big, but comparatively small for all the space out there. They will be using a fleet of underwater drones to look after this, and this is called a no find, no fee deal. If they find something, they get $70 million. If they don't, they get nothing, as they try to take on what has become an enduring mystery.
Good night, Malaysia 370.
Good night. Those were among the last words from the cockpit of the Malaysia Airjet with 239 people aboard. The last words before authorities say it took an unexpected turn.
Now, that's a question I've had. Why did it abruptly change course? Military radar later showed the plane making a sharp, deliberate turn, flying back across Malaysia instead of continuing toward Beijing.
Flew out over the Indian Ocean and disappeared from radar.
That's another question. Disappearing from radar. Why were the aircraft's transponder and communications shut off just minutes after leaving Malaysian airspace? That wasn't a sudden failure. Systems were disabled in sequence, suggesting intention and not an accident, I would think. If there's any pilots out there, please put your comments down below because you'd be the most educated to be able to speak on some of these topics.
Trying to do everything in our powers to find where the plane is.
A massive international search followed with planes and ships scouring thousands of square miles, each development bringing hope to desperate families.
If it's the plane, then we'll all be devastated, but we can at least grieve properly and go on with our lives.
But hours turned to days, days to weeks, still nothing.
I'm looking for my husband, and I want to know what happened to him.
The search moved underwater.
Another question I have is who was controlling the aircraft after it disappeared from civilian radar? Someone or something the plane was still flying. Would it have to be controlled inside the cockpit, or is there any possibility that that plane could be controlled remotely from someone?
Tech robotic subs and sensors probing the rugged darkness almost 3 miles beneath the surface of the Indian Ocean. The government reached for answers. Families grieved even more.
They really don't care about how we feel or what we have to say.
An official report laid out what...
And that's the most unfortunate part is none of the families, friends, loved ones have closure on this whole situation. I really hope they find it this time to bring closure to the families because it's just a tragic situation. And they've been living it for years because the plane has not been found. There's been no closure,
What was known, but...
What it doesn't tell us is who did what, where, when, and why on the night.
I've been trying to come up with every scenario I could to just explain this away, but I haven't been very successful.
Exactly. Like the question I asked earlier, who was controlling it? Was it in the cockpit? Was it remotely?
The theories seemed endless. The captain had a flight simulator at home. For a while, questions swirled around whether he and the co-pilot might have cut communications and intentionally ditched the plane. The idea of a hijacker or terrorist taking over and crashing it came up too. Mechanical questions appeared in media everywhere. Did batteries in the cargo hold catch fire? Did the pressurization fail?
What if all the power went out, everything went dark, and everything failed?
There was no proof for any of it, just scattered evidence coupled with speculation about how long the jet flew, which direction, and where it might have come down. More than a year after the disappearance, a few parts washed up along the African coast.
Well, if ultimately this is a piece of the wing, then that little thread of hope that I've been holding on to will have to break.
But still, no answers about a plane that vanished 39 minutes after takeoff.
The thing is, there have been consistently small clues, Wolf, that have pointed to this thing or that thing that haven't been able to be entirely dismissed, nor have they led to an answer. But I want to point this out because it's an interesting measurement. This thing is 2.5 miles down. Even if they search an area as big as Connecticut and do it very, very well, remember the Titanic was much, much bigger, and it took 73 years to find that. And they knew where it went down. Yes, technology has advanced a lot, but this is a big challenge. So it's good they're looking again. I would not think people should get their hopes up.
Excellent reporting as usual, Tom Foreman. Thank you very, very much. I want to get some more analysis right now on what's going on. Joining us, the CNN transportation analyst.
Another question I have for a pilot that's out there, or anybody in the technology industry that deals with airplane technology, parts, etc., is the black box. Now, I understand the importance of the black box because it's recording absolutely everything, all the instruments, they're recording the pilot's conversations. But why is it all secluded to that one black box? I mean, look at our cell phones, for instance. If I travel down the street with my cell phone, I'd probably be absolutely amazed with how much information my cell phone has collected and sent back to the carrier. Why isn't it like that with the black box? Like, why every minute or every 30 seconds does it not do a download to a server on the ground level so that we don't have to find this black box in a plane somewhere? We already have the data on a server on land that we can review. Now, maybe a pilot that's out there can chime in and let me know the answer to that, because that boggles my mind that we're in 2026 and we got to find a black box and that data can't be transmitted down to a server on land where we always have access to it.
And former Transportation Department Inspector General Mary Schiavo. Mary, thanks so much for joining us. So many years later, where does a search like this even begin?
Well, the search begins really where it left off, with the mysterious pings, with what we called back then the handshakes from Inmarsat, with a great amounts of data all analyzed by computers, which literally get better by the minute. And then obviously some additional information that was provided by the Coast Guards of the world, including the United States Coast Guard, about drift theories and where things could have drifted over time. So this new search picks up where it left off with computer-assisted data. And that's where it's going to resume, hopefully with much better data to help them analyze where to look. And then they have new submersibles, which is a tremendous improvement.
That's another question I have. Is satellite data suggests a final descent somewhere in the southern Indian Ocean, but the main wreckage has never been located. So how accurate is that satellite? Handshake data used to determine the plane's final flight path?
So, Mary, realistically, is there any chance of finding something new right now? Didn't investigators use underwater drones last time around?
Yes, they did. And I guess one of the biggest issues last time around was, of course, that the Malaysian government, there was this, big announcement that it turned off, the communications had been turned off. Yeah, you can't tell that unless you actually find the systems. And they lost contact with it when in fact it was visible on military radar. A huge difference between what was originally reported and how the facts came out. So they have analyzed that. And what they hope to find is any clue what happened to the.
That's, that boggles my mind as well. Why was it not visible on air traffic control's radar, but it was visible on the military's radar?
The plane and what happened to the people, and even pieces and parts. Remember when they found the flaperon a few years ago, was a piece of the wing, and that was hugely important because it showed signs of twisting. It showed sign perhaps of a violent crash from the air, not quietly settling on the ocean, sinking down. Any burn marks on any piece that they can find will be very helpful because those lithium-ion batteries remained a huge issue. And if they would get so fortunate as to find parts of the plane, was the cockpit door still findable and locked? And everyone, of course, always talks about the black boxes. If they could find them, this many years, over a decade underwater, if they could find them and get any data, it would be a remarkable record-setting thing, but that's very, very doubtful. They're not very big, and seawater has made its intrusion by now.
What lesson, Mary, do you think the aviation industry has learned from this?
We can honestly say that some things have changed. There are now new tracking rules as you fly around the world. Most countries put in strict limits on lithium-ion batteries in a cargo hold. Remember, this cargo hold was full of them, that and mangosteens. So those requirements have increased. While there is absolutely no evidence, there's a lot of speculation that it was pilot suicide. More emphasis has been put on pilot mental health after this accident, of course, than German wings, the suicide accident. So some things have changed. I mean, what hasn't changed is the ocean is big and vast. And if people who are supposed to monitor the planes and follow that radar aren't at their duty stations doing their jobs, all the equipment in the world isn't going to help when you have to go look for a plane in a vast ocean, in the dark underwater. But some lessons have been learned and applied, but there are a lot more improvements that can be made.
Well, all we know is MH370 didn't just disappear from radar, it disappeared from certainty. Hopefully they find it this time around so there's closure brought to the friends, family. Let me know in the comments below if you think they're going to find this plane this time around on the search. And again, any pilots out there, please chime in and put some comments in based on your knowledge and expertise on some of these questions that I have. Guys, if you want to see daily consistent content, take 1 second, click that subscribe button, turn on notifications. That way you never miss a new episode.